What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Eric, the Pathfinder marketing guru in the studio today. Good day today. So he came into town. We wanted to kind of just go over the sales process that I do in my painting business. And I don't know, man. Let's recap a little bit. So it was funny because last week we went 0 for 4, right? Last Friday. And, you know, before that, I'm prepping, right? I'm trying to get this guy, you know, some good opportunities. So when we go, you know, we have a lot to talk about. And, man, dude, it felt like we just hit brick wall after brick wall, right? And it was kind of discouraging. I'm like, damn, man, you know, I wanted to really, like, show out, right? But today, totally different story, man. So let's start off with, you know, kind of preface it. Maybe you can start with some takeaways. Because part of this is we wanted to kind of, you know, reflect back on it. First things first, always give value, help out. Kind of dissect some of the things we learned today so you could take some of that information, put it into your own business, sell more jobs, grow your company. But one of the things was kind of like, Eric did not expect this, but I was like, you know what? First estimate of the day today, you're doing it. Just go in the house. Let's kind of recap that. Man.
Yeah, I was thrown off guard. but it was fun. It's funny because like we were literally like pulling up to the house too. We were talking about something else. We were like talking about Dripjobs and marketing and like other completely unrelated things. So I was literally like standing out of the car. I was like, "What's the person's name?" Like walking into the house, knew nothing about it. But it was fun. I mean, great lead, right? Not a difficult one by any means. Really nice lady and her daughter. It was fun, dude. I was just having a good time out there.
Yeah, like right off the bat, you could tell the lady was super excited. She had like 3 dogs in her hand. And I'm kind of like inconspicuously like in the car, kind of like, don't look at me, you know, and kind of watching the approach. And there was some hot buttons there that even though they were cool, like you still got to earn the sale, right?
100%. That would have, like, we were talking about this and we'll circle back to it. That also would have been an easy sale to lose.
100%.
Right? Easily could have.
Easily.
But yeah, even though they were like super fun and engaging, and like they were talkers, right? They wanted to talk a lot. But there were some hot buttons, right? She comes outside. She's like, yeah, let me show you around. It was an exterior. She comes and brings, you know, some color swatches and everything. And she's talking to me about which one she's not sure. She wants an expert's opinion. Right. This is literally what she said. I didn't tell you this part yet, but she was like, I want an expert's opinion. She's like asking me as the expert, right? She doesn't know, like, I'm a marketer just in disguise undercover. But what I do, I'm not going to be able to tell her the different shades of gray and like what would look good with this new brick she picked out, whatever. So pawned it off and was like, I think a lot of these are really good choices. However, Donna, our color consultant, or I said decorator because that's the verbiage you always use. Yeah. I was like, Donna, our decorator, is going to be come out. We'll actually do a color consult for you. You know, ran her through that and she just lit up. She's completely lit up night and day. She was like, oh, wow, yeah. And then once I saw that made such an impact for her, I got to go in on it even further, right? And go exactly, because just like you're concerned about these different colors and the light hits over here and doesn't, and then she's like, exactly, we have the east and the west side, whatever, like things I didn't even know. She's like, we have this side and this side. Like, exactly, it's going to look a little different, so she'll come in and make sure you guys have the perfect color. Like, meant the world to her.
Meant the world. Found that pain point. And it's like some people, especially if you're in the paint game, you could be in really any remodeling game, right? It could be somebody struggling with the shingle style on a roof or the type of flooring or the paint color, right? That solution gets resolved instantly when you pass it on to a professional that focuses on design and decor. So having that major key. Next thing with this specific customer had a brand new roof. So right off the bat, when Eric came in and told me that, I said, okay, cool. What we want to do is emphasize the care and concern that we'll have surrounding painting the fascia on the new roof. There's another variable. She had some bricks in the front of her house, and all the new bricks that she was going to have installed were sitting in the driveway, right? So this was a pending project. We knew that there was a little bit of urgency there. And the crazy thing is that, you know, this customer was excited. They found us on Google, so they had a little bit of, I would say, you know, they wanted us more than maybe someone else, just seeing the reputation. Yeah. But it would have been so easy to leave.
Yeah, and like I didn't even actually tell you this part too. But yeah, when I came back in, right, after building the estimate with you, I asked about that, you know, the brick thing, because you were like, ideally you want to paint before the brick goes up. And I asked her about that, and she said she had a guy coming for the estimate today, but that she was pretty confident he'd be able to get her in like in a few weeks or whatever, because he was actually going to like South Carolina. It's like really sought after brick guy. I don't know if you know him in the area, but this really sought after brick guy that was going to South Carolina. But it became one of those points where then I got to then enter as the expert and go, that's actually perfect. Ideally, we want to do the paint before the brick. Right. We have an opening in 3 weeks. That timeline will actually work out perfectly.
Yeah, travel agent mentality, right? So in other words, like, you can figure out your vacation on your own, or you can have someone do it all for you. And that's kind of the way I want to approach sales, is like, in other words, like, okay, well, you can figure out colors on your own, or we have a solution for that. Or you can figure out timing, and you can figure out, maneuvering all these projects, or we can give you the solution in terms of an exact date we can start, how long it's going to take, and what you can expect. So when you meet with that guy, you say, hey, the painter said they're going to be here within about 3 weeks. Can you come in 4 weeks?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and also, like, talk about also building trust. She was like, why do like that? She was like, oh, like, I had no idea. Right. And I kind of explained what you explained to me a few minutes earlier about like why we want to paint before the brick or whatever. And boom, there was trust. She's like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know that. Right. Same about the roof too. What Tanner was saying. I was telling him this earlier, right? I mentioned how, like, we're going to cover the roof, make sure it's protected because you can't get paint off a roof, etc. And initially she's like, oh, like, she's like kind of giving me this hand motion, this look like, oh, like, who cares if you get paint on the roof? Right. So then I give a little bit of an example. I was like, well, the last thing we want is somebody spraying the fascia and they slip and you get this huge smear of white paint on the roof that'll never come off. And then it like hit that pain point and she was like, wow, like, cool. So yeah, just
really just emphasizing, and separating, right? So, the gist of this, and the reason why this is such a good example, is because, like, instead of focusing on, the product, in other words, like all the details of the paint job, it was more so focusing on the process and focusing on things that were valuable to the customer. The only way you can find that out is you ask, what's the story, and open up the conversation of colors and provide solutions. So at the end of the day, you garnish so much trust. It's almost like you're my choice, regardless of what your price is. As long as it's not crazy, it can still be more than the competition. I want to go with you because it's convenient. And I want to go with you because I know that if you're doing this, I don't have to think about it, right? So that's what we want to convey. But what was interesting, and I said this before, the last kind of segment of this, conversation, was he could have gotten all that information, everything, and we could have drove home and emailed the quote, right?
Absolutely.
And there could have been a gap of time. Kids might have got crazy at home, dinner, exhausted. Maybe you don't even send it till tomorrow. All that excitement that was built.
Her getting so excited about the color consultation.
And then what does that give? Time to think. Well, we didn't even get to go on a vacation this year, right? Yep. We're going to spend $4,000 on a paint job. So capitalizing on that excitement, building off of the momentum was key. And I think walked away with a check. I mean, he's 100% closing ratio right now. He's never not closed the job that you did a painting estimate for. The second one that we did was like a commercial one. Nothing other than, not really talk about that. But the third one was solid. Mm-hmm. That was a lady who had got us from word of mouth. She was really interesting scenario. 16 years, not a drop of paint was put on both the inside and
still
the
in great shape.
Yeah,
like it was in great shape. Yeah.
Decent. I mean, for 16 years.
Especially,
grandkids in and out of the house. And it's like, I talk about this too. You have individuals that are finally ready to clean up their house in a way that's going to be pristine. So obviously you heard me when it came to talking about the paint. You can bang into it, right? You saw me do the Mr. Miyagi on the wall in terms of wiping the wall with a wet rag. Those of you painting contractors laughing at that because you always hear, well, can I have something that's washable? Right? You hear that all the time. So for me, knowing that this is her opportunity to get clean, durable paint, I want to hit on that hard. I can only ask and emphasize that value if I ask the right questions. What's the story? For me, it was just hearing the story about her grandkids. How many times she mentioned her grandkids?
Oh yeah, every mark on the wall.
The house, every mark on the wall, she pointed out.
She was like, "I used to have a bed here with the that was the story. Like it was there used to be a bed here. Somebody used to be here. Somebody used to visit and work there." And
but what was interesting is that even though that this was a big job, you had to organize it in a way to make it to where you could sell it on the spot, right? So, when you're doing these estimates, if you notice, like for me, I'm leading the way. I'm not letting them dictate how the estimate goes, right? And I think some of us get in the habit of that. And it's easy to, right? You kind of just let them do the tour. They tell you what they want. And, you kind of get confused and you don't send you send the estimate and it's not. No, when I come in a house, we're the professionals. You called us. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, what do you want done initially? Okay, here's what we can offer you. And you kind of build off of there, build your value around that. Because the whole time I'm walking through there, I'm thinking, how am I going to present this in a way that makes sense for them to make a decision today? Right?
And it's really easy to get off track, especially I think when you have people like that first one that I had where they're talkers. Right. It was funny when we were out back. They were telling me about
get off track.
Super easy and let them take control of it. Right. And there was that moment where
let's get back on the train.
There was that moment in that first one where I didn't even have to ask, what's the story, and she just started telling me. Right. It was telling me all about this. And we're in the back, and she's like, "Okay, we'll do your thing." I was like, I literally had to be like, "Wait, hold on." Yeah. When was the last time have you had this painted yet since you've been here? When was the last time? Have you ever hired and get some of the extra info, found other pain points, and then those became helpful when I was actually in the house. So it is easy. Stick to your process, which is key.
Yeah, and some of us, and we're all guilty of this, is we get deviated so much from the objective, which is to sell the job, right? And we go off on tangents, and you're there for way longer than you need to be. And it's like, you got to understand, you got to have the right questions. You got to build the right value. You don't want to sell in the wrong direction. I use this example all the time. If you go into a painting estimate, and let's say the person's kind of reserved, they just say, "Hey, yeah, I'd like to get it painted." They're not trained to give you the answers you need. But then again, you don't ask what the story was. But let's say the story was that they're getting ready to sell the house, and then you go through the entire process talking about how great duration or emerald paint is and how durable it is, and you take my advice and do the Miyagi on the wall, and the guy's looking at you like, I don't need all that, man. I just want to get it sold, right? So having that process in place is going to keep you organized. It's going to allow you to be fluid with your sales pitch, because it's going to change based off of the desires, the needs, the wants of the customer, and then you're going to be able to be organized enough to present a proposal. So that's what happened, right? Yeah.
And just a different example of it from a different industry that I think everybody can understand, I give this one a lot, is and it's a popular one, right? If somebody went to a car lot, right, and they're looking at a Corvette, right, and the car salesman comes up and doesn't ask any questions and is just telling them how great the car is because it's so fast and it's so this, and it's so much fun, it throws you back in your seat, and then comes to find out he's buying it for his daughter. He's not going to buy that car and they were selling the wrong direction about the speed and the acceleration, not like how it's safe, right? How like this is
a good one, actually.
It's an easy example to contextualize just in a different industry, but the same case.
I'm going to use that somewhere. If you hear this on this podcast, that's a really good example, and that's just all has to do with being inquisitive in the beginning. I mean, that's just how you can get the information you need. And what we're looking for is ways to sell to that specific customer because we care. And that's really what it comes down to. If you're a manipulative salesperson, then you're doing it to manipulate. But if you're a care, driven salesperson, you want to do what's best for your customer, then you do it because you truly want to be able to provide value in a way that benefits them the most for their dollar. So you got to look at it like that. What were some of your takeaways? Like when you saw how I kind of approached that, first of all, big job, right? 2,800 square feet, interior, ceiling, walls, trim, doors, whole house, exterior, walls, trim, doors, soffit and fascia. We did it within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
$18,000 job. Closed and signed on the spot. Checks over there. What were some of your takeaways?
It was really interesting. I was telling you this, right? On the estimate I did, a lot of the like selling to some of the pain points, like not getting paint on the roof, some of those other things, they had to come when I was inside the house afterwards, because I didn't have a choice, because some of it was product knowledge I just didn't quite know yet as far as how your company did things, etc. Right? But you had the really cool part of, especially on a big project as we're walking. I mean, how long was that tour? That was probably like a 10-minute tour. I mean, 15-minute tour. We were there for a while. Yeah. But you got the opportunity then to point a lot of things out and at least sell slightly on those right there in that moment. We're looking at the crack outside right now. Yeah. We're looking at the roof and being able to sell those. So I thought that was really cool, which obviously just comes with you knowing your product and your company, which is great. The other part, like I loved the close, right? It wasn't quite as maybe easy as the one I had, right? Where it took a little bit of that, it wasn't difficult by any means, but just knowing what to do, right? Presenting the price. And then it was the silent close, right? And we talked about this afterward. It was the silent close. We presented everything. We went through it on Dripjobs. Everything was super smooth. And then presented it, and you just sat there. Just looked at her.
All right, so that's funny because we were just laughing that when I was in that moment, and Eric's to my right, and I presented the interior quote. It was like 11.6, and then the exterior quote was like 7,300. When I ended the interior quote, I'm thinking, man, she probably thinks this is a lot.
And I even felt
said that in my brain.
I did too.
He felt it based off of.
You could tell her facial reaction when she was looking at the next one. She was like, "Okay."
Yeah, yeah. She was like, "Okay, all right," you know, like, okay, like. And then I'm like, oh God, I got an extra 7.3 on the exterior. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I had to shut all that up. He said it. He even thought it. That she thought it. That we can't think what other people are thinking. We don't know what's in their bank account, right? We don't know how much value they place on this project, and if there was a metric to measure how much value they placed on it before I got there. After I got there, I made it even more valuable, showing them things they didn't notice, right?
Absolutely.
Cracks, washability, process, master bedroom. What was their question? Can we be here while you're painting? Not only can you be here, we're going to make sure that the master bedroom's done the first day.
Huge.
Right? So if there was some concerns, we tried to address those. But really what came down to was presented the price. Tried my best to be quiet.
You did. You nailed it. You didn't say anything.
I wanted to talk. After I presented both, I was going to be like, well, what do you think? Like how we all naturally want to do. We want to like fill that gap of silence. And I knew like partially because he was there. I wanted to kind of be on my best behavior. And it helped because I knew that like the silent close was good. And then she kind of just turned to her husband and said, well, you want to do it? Like nothing better, right? Those of you who've been in that situation. And he's like, let's do it. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's get the checkbook out. Get sign this. And it's like, you know, again, when I reflect back on that, I'm like, I was this close to talking and giving up things unnecessarily.
Yep.
You know, and it's almost
Absolutely.
like we got.
That you would have put other things in her brain, would have created questions, etc.
Right, and then it would have created confusion. It was like, no, I went through this entire proposal. I'm confident. I told you how long this was going to take. I told you how many people were going to be here. You have heard of me from a friend, so you know that I have some credibility. This isn't a risk. There wasn't much questions she had left, right? And typically, what do you say on your videos? A confused buyer what?
Oh, confused buyer always says no.
Right? So in other words, like if you're not spending time asking questions to provoke responses that help them show you what their concerns are, then you're leaving the house with a confused buyer still. Questions of a confused buyer would be what?
There's so many.
Give me a couple, bro.
When are you gonna be here?
Can I trust you?
I mean, right? A lot of those, right. But when are you guys gonna be here? What's the timeline? How long is it gonna take to finish?
Can I be here while you're
Can I be here? Right, great. Yep.
Do we need to get a hotel? Right.
How many people are going to be in my house?
That,
are you guys going to cover the floors?
But honestly,
are you guys going to move the furniture?
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah, there was a lot there, right? Are you going to move the furniture? Oh, are you going to cover the floor? Do we need to move pictures? You need to be almost robotic in your approach to outline all of the concerns. And if you're not a student of your own game and you don't know that everyone typically has the same concerns based on the job type, that's why I tell people who are doing cabinets
100%.
And are doing interior and exterior painting and are doing epoxy and drywall, it's like, bro, not only do you have to have a different sales, marketing, and production process, you've got to learn how to master the concerns of each one of those projects. In other words, like people who are getting their cabinets done have a different concern than people who are getting house painting. Why? Because they can't use their kitchen. So they got to figure out ways to go out to eat for that week. Yep. They got to, you know what I'm saying? So like that's a different set of value that you need to be emphasizing if you're selling those different services.
And here's a hack, at least what I found. Not to just plug Dripjobs too hardcore, but on Dripjobs, right? When that
you can plug
proposal,
it here.
All right, yeah, we're plugging it. But on Dripjobs, right? Okay, so I go into this house, right? I've known Tanner for a while, so I understand a lot of what his company does, but not every single nook and cranny in detail, right? Well, I go in there, and I have this proposal sitting there, so I just touched on each point. And a lot of you're gonna have like the great word of mouth lead.
Explain that deeper.
Educated,
hold on, because that was important. He doesn't know the process.
So
the proposal was
you have
outlined
two things though. This is why it was so helpful. You have the educated buyers that they'll ask you all those questions. Are you gonna move furniture, all that sort of stuff? But a lot of them don't know. Right? When I was in there and I'm going through it, I'm just like reading off. Right? I'm literally reading off the list. I'm like, so we're gonna do this, and then I sell to it.
He's never
right?
seen our paint jobs before, but he just read off of our proposal because it was so detailed that he could almost convey that he's been on every single one of our jobs. 100%. Hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. We'll be better. I hope we do. You know?
Yeah. I was like, and here's a great example of the one which stood out to me, right? Is I was like, and obviously on, outside we're going to caulk all the windows, tape them off, right? Make sure there's no paint or any overspray getting on. They lit up. They're like, oh, thank God. I wasn't sure if you guys were going to do. I didn't ask. They didn't mention it, right? They weren't as sophisticated of a buyer as that second one for sure. But because it was on there and I just could follow the same process, those concerns were already there.
Here's an outside point, okay? Let's say you're estimate number 3. You don't know who came before you and you don't know what they said, okay?
Yep.
So if you have someone that has never gotten their house painted before and isn't maybe the most educated buyer, they may believe whatever's being said by someone who doesn't have their best interest in mind about a certain system or a certain way to do the job or a certain process that they adopt as truth. So when you come and you say something that may be different, that creates confusion. So it's important for you to understand that like your job is to be as systematic as possible in explaining your process as if they've never seen it before. And it's important. What's that one question? Have you ever hired a painting contractor before?
Yep.
Did you ask that on the first one?
Yeah.
What was their answer?
She said they had, and she said it was a long, long time ago, but it was a pretty good experience. Nothing to write home about, but like it was cool.
Right. No pain there.
Yeah.
Right?
No pain, nothing crazy.
But what I would ask in that
ago
scenario, and we get this too. Some people have had hired a painting company before.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually more often than not that they haven't. Because a lot of the younger 30s, 40s, they try to do it themselves.
Yep.
And then we become their competition. But anyway, I would say that like, okay, well, hey, do you remember how many people were on the job?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just one guy. Oh, okay. Maybe that's not a big deal to you now, but I just want to let you know we bring 3. And let me tell you why that's cool. Because we can spend all the time in the world preparing your house, right? And like what we want to do is kind of just help them understand what's different from then and now when they see a price that may be 3 or 4 times higher than what they paid before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and especially, how many, even on like our first day out, like the one guy was like, I've met a contractor here, it's worth a damn.
Yeah.
Right? And they were here forever and all this. Yeah. Cool. So like the reason those questions are so important is you find those past pain points, right? Now you can sell to those. Right now, the fact that we're going to have 3 or 4 guys out there and it's only going to take a few days becomes so much more powerful.
It's going to continue to get more competitive. More people are going to adopt this professional way of doing things. But I still think that there's always going to be an opportunity for you to separate yourself by being thorough. Like you can be thorough. You don't have to be enthusiastic or you don't have to have charisma or you don't have to be anything outside of what you are. But if you're thorough in your process in terms of what your proposals say about exactly what you're going to do, imagine this. You get 2 estimates. One guy comes up with a business card, writes the price on it, and hands it. It still happens, right? But then we've got branded shirts, right? We're coming in. We do a very professional walk around. We ask all the right questions, build a ton of trust. And what we're doing is presenting a proposal that literally showcases them full transparency of what they can expect. And it's like, that is sales. That is how you convince people to trust you. And if sales could be another term in the dictionary, it would be just trust. I trust you with my money with the idea that I'm going to get a return greater than what I believe my money is worth. Absolutely. No one in the history of sales has ever purchased something thinking that they were going to get less than the value.
Yeah, nobody ever buys something thinking they're getting ripped off. Right. Nobody's ever handing over their credit card or writing a check being like, this is a bad deal.
No one's going to give you $100 and think, well, I'm only going to get $98 worth of value.
Yeah.
It's like, if I give you $100, I think that I'm getting $101 worth of value because that's important to me. Well, whether it's the same for everyone, maybe not, So good stuff on that one.
Yeah.
Last one, crown molding guy. Interesting scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Carpenter. Probably a little overwhelmed with it. I looked at his work. It wasn't finished. It was like half done all over, right? Yeah. Do you want me to call it that? No, I got it. I think what happened is that he ordered the crown molding thinking he was going to do it. Mm-hmm. His wife got on his case and said, it took you 3 months to get the baseboards, the chair rail, and all the other projects done.
And you got this really difficult spot up there with the built-ins.
Right. How you going to figure that out, Joe? I got to call someone, right? Hard to do that it's hard for that type of homeowner to make the decision, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of pride.
A lot of pride there, I don't think he wasn't a mean guy. He's very nice.
No.
But I feel like there was a little pride shift there for somebody, and we've ran into those. What do you think about that?
Of course. So, actually, question for you. I feel like you did this intentionally, but I don't know if you did. He was out working in the yard when we got there, and carpenter himself, all that, right? He was kind of like running through it quick.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in a lot of cases, then they force us to run through it quick,
Right.
and it can hurt the contractor, the
Yeah.
salesperson that's out there. See
Yeah.
it all the time on our calls.
Yep.
In this case, and I think you read the room perfectly, once we found out he was a carpenter, once we found out some of that little stuff,
Yeah.
then it was like you were like boom, 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 speeding up and going through it. And I think he appreciated that. And I think that was one of those rare situations where kind of rushing through it, you know, we didn't need to talk about all the little details because he knew that stuff. He was a carpenter, right? And we just, I mean, what? We were like in like 15 minutes. We were like in and out, right? It was super fast. And I think a lot of times it could have hurt us, but we got a few of those questions. We found out he was the carpenter. And then I think it played to our advantage. I thought that was just a really good read on the room.
Observation. I think just naturally that was kind of what I found like with that guy. I didn't want to milk it, but I knew that he needed us. It was more of a need-based thing, especially once he told me that the crown was coming today.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you want us to just give you labor? Perfect. We could be here Monday. I mean, here, what are we doing here? Here's the price. Done. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't really have to convince this guy. Number one, I'm there. He called us. We're convenient. I know my carpenters are going to kill it. I had the confidence there, and we locked it in. 2,700. You know, we went 3 for 3 today.
Yeah.
Solid. But taking a lot of different approaches, right? First customer was, you know, excited about the longevity of the project. You did a great job building rapport. They wanted an experience. Second customer wanted durability, but also longevity. Wanted to finally have their house looking new again after 16 years of grandkids tearing it up, right? So we focused on that. Third guy, speed, efficiency. Done. What can we gather from this is that everyone buys differently, so you need to sell differently, right?
Sales is a very dynamic game. Right? That's why, like, whenever I'm teaching anything with sales, I never give anybody a script, even appointment setting, like even calling stuff. It's never a script, it's a framework, right? Like, we have some questions, right? Great example. Like, we have that, your famous question, what's the story? Okay, well, when I came into the estimate day, I had to be dynamic. She just started telling me about stuff. If then she had told me a little bit and then I came in with that question, it would have kind of put her off. It wouldn't have made sense, right? We have to be able to be dynamic and realize what each lead, what each potential customer values so we can alter our process slightly.
100%. Yeah, and I think it's just important to get reps in this, understand, you know, when it came for you to close yours, like, was there any shadow of a doubt that you were getting a sale there?
Oh, no, I 100% knew. I knew it when you were filming the Instagram stories in the car.
Put a little pressure.
I mean, it was a little pressure, but I was just like, I knew it 5 minutes in. Yeah. Like, just absolutely. I was
but
like,
it was almost like if I do my job here effectively, I'm going to get the sale, right? And it's like we've got to capitalize on those easy ones because there's going to be hard ones. And it's like your process needs to adjust based off of who you're dealing with. Again, the only way you can do that is by asking the right questions.
Yep.
You know
exactly. 100%.
I think it's interesting. You have no product knowledge and you still closed it.
Hey, I got a little bit, but
a little bit. But I mean, just being able to follow that process and being likable and enthusiastic.
Well, and here's the thing. That's one of the things I say all the time to our clients is like, they don't care about like paint and all that stuff. I didn't know what paint. They asked me when we were walking around the house. They're like, what type of paint do you guys use? I knew we used Sherwin-Williams. But I didn't know if it was like Resilience or Super Paint or like this or whatever. So it's just like Sherwin-Williams. And they're just like, oh, great.
Perfect.
We love Sherwin. Those are the color examples.
Great example because people really don't care what paint.
Most people would have gone, oh, we use this because of this. And this one's not as good. Don't let somebody else. They don't care.
100%.
They just want to know you were confident in your answer that like we use Sherwin-Williams because it's the best.
I love it.
Literally, that's what they said. And I was like, yeah, they're the best.
That's it.
I mean, they are. But like, yeah, you get it. Like,
all right, well, dude, thank you for joining Contractor Secrets Podcast. My name's Tanner. This is Eric. Hopefully you guys got some value on it. Eric owns Pathfinder Marketing, so if you are interested in getting some marketing for your business, this is your guy. You can find him on Instagram at Eric Fozz, EricFozz. And then for me, the only thing that I would ask of you is if you are not using Dripjobs, I would love for you to try out Dripjobs. You can automate so many things in your business. It's going to take such a load off of your back. It's going to professionalize your business. It's going to help customers see that you are above the curve when it comes to their estimating process. And more importantly, you'd be supporting me, which if you got any value from this, it would help me tremendously. If you signed up for a free trial, I would love to work with you one-on-one or someone from my team will teach you how to use it. And then you could be the judge on if it's a benefit to your business. So head over to dripjobs.com and check out that for a free trial today. Eric will have to do this again.